30 states seeing a surge in new cases this week, and an uncontrolled spread of the virus across New Mexico up 104% compared to last week. COVID-19 so rampant across America that one model projects the U.S. will reach a staggering 20 million cases by January 20th.
The coronavirus spike continues to surge throughout the country, and it's absolutely disastrous when you consider the fact that Donald Trump's inaction and lack of leadership to begin with was awful, but he has completely abandoned doing anything to help the American people, to help slow the spread of this virus, to help keep Americans alive. And so we're seeing some pretty devastating numbers when it comes to new coronavirus cases and also a surge of deaths that come along with these confirmed cases. Tuesday's tally, for instance, of 2,092 COVID-19 deaths is the highest the United States has seen since May 6th, when 2,611 deaths were reported. Nearly 12.6 million US cases and 259,000 fatalities have been reported since February. So record numbers of fatalities were reported in 9 states. Ohio, Washington, Indiana, Missouri, Wisconsin, Oregon, Maine, Alaska, and North Dakota. And that's according to data tracked by the Washington Post. So when you compare the United States to other countries, European countries, for instance, you can see that we're uniquely awful in responding to this pandemic. We're very much in the second wave, but what makes the United States different from all these other countries is that they decided to take strict measures early on, weeks ago, once they noticed this second surge, and they've been able to slow the spread of COVID, while, as you can see in this graph, with that green line representing the United States, we're seeing this giant spike, and all of the issues that we ran into in the beginning of the pandemic, a lack of PPE, a shortage of PPE, I should say, hospitals getting slammed with patients, people with other illnesses getting turned away because the hospitals are overwhelmed with patients. We're seeing that again. And some of these states have already begun shutting down businesses. Some of these states are considering a second lockdown or stay-at-home order, which means that small businesses will suffer further. People will continue losing their jobs. And of course, the federal government has also abandoned us when it came to another COVID stimulus package. So John, the situation is bleak, and you and I talked on Damage Report about the increased travel over the holidays. So I don't know what to do at this point. I mean, all you can do is share information with people and hope that they take responsible measures.
Yeah, and it's felt like that way for a long time. We report it. We try to get people to take it seriously. We are hampered by the fact that, unfortunately, our audience probably is predisposed to take it seriously, but a lot of people aren't in our audience, and a lot of people are not going to take it seriously, and they're going to get COVID soon. And so I don't know if this is true for you, Anna, or maybe for you watching, but I have a new tradition. It's been stretching back a few months. Around 4:30 every afternoon, I start hitting refresh on Twitter to see what the COVID tracking project's numbers are going to be.
I can't.
Because it's just devastating. And today I'm going to be doing it, like around the time of the post game, and I'm going to be wondering, is it going to be above 2,000 again, or is that going to be like a good number that we look back on in a month and think, oh my God, remember when it was just 2,000? I don't know, because this is all before Thanksgiving. People are already traveling. They've been traveling for a couple of days. It's going to go up even more, and they're going to go to a place possibly giving it COVID or possibly getting it and then bringing it back to the place we're at. Millions and 50 million Americans or something like that are going to travel, some close and some far. And like we hit 2,000 again. I apologize. We hit 2,000 again, and a significant portion of the media is not gonna, they're not gonna respond how you'd expect if we were at 5 deaths even. Like Fox isn't gonna even say that we've hit 2,000 again.
Yeah, and just going back to the increased travel for the holidays, you showed this insane video that showed, it's one thing to talk about the 3 million people who traveled over the weekend, which is, by the way, the largest number of travelers since the pandemic hit. It's another thing to visualize it. And when you look at that image of all the different planes traveling across the United States, this is what happened over the weekend, guys. This is the kind of travel that took place. So it gives you a sense of, I don't want to say that people aren't taking it seriously, right? And the reason why I don't want to say that is because you're right, John. Not everyone watches this show. Not everyone is paying attention to the outlets that are trying to do the right thing and give people accurate information. Some people just hinge on whatever Donald Trump and his cronies have to say. The right-wing media is still minimizing this. You have governors like Kristi Noem, for instance, who's just absolutely defiant when it comes to any piece of responsibility that can help slow this virus. They just don't care. And then on the other hand, I think this is important to bring up as well. It's hard for people to trust politicians when they seem to be operating in a way that is untouched by this virus, right? Like when you see our politicians out having dinner or being out in public without masks, or you see our politicians travel to the French Laundry in Napa Valley to have a fancy dinner with lobbyists without wearing masks and things like that. People look at that and they say, well, Gavin Newsom's hanging out, having a good time at the French Laundry. Why can't I go see my family? So it's really important for our politicians to lead by example. And there's been failure in that regard across the board. And people are paying the price. So real quick, I also wanted to share some potentially positive news. I say potentially because it does depend on FDA approval, but Pfizer is estimating that 6.4 million COVID-19 vaccine doses will be distributed by mid-December. So here's what we know based on reporting from The Hill. Pfizer last week asked the FDA to issue an emergency use authorization for its vaccine, which was found to be 95% effective in clinical trials. It's not clear when the FDA will make a decision. An agency advisory committee meets on December 10th to vote on whether they will recommend the FDA should authorize the vaccine. Also, officials expect 40 million vaccine doses to be ready by the end of the year. HHS Secretary Alex Azar said he expects vaccines to be available for the general population in the second quarter of next year. And while I don't trust Alex Azar, I do trust Anthony Fauci, and he had a similar estimate in regard to when the vaccine will be available for widespread use.
Yeah, and look, the 6.4, if they can do that and actually distribute it, because being ready and being distributed to all corners of the country are very different things, obviously. That 6.4 million will, in theory, take care of like our frontline medical practitioners, registered nurses, doctors, and things like that. And obviously you have a lot of really old people that are incredibly vulnerable to this. There's gonna be millions and millions more of that. The second quarter of next year feels so far away. And one of my fears is that every bit of news between now and when it's universal, whether that's a year or whatever, is going to make it seem less serious. Like, it's good news, it gives you some optimism, but like, what was it, Geraldo was on Fox talking about, like last week, we were entering into a dark winter until this good news about the vaccine. No,
it's just so irresponsible.
No, we don't have the vaccine. Like, it's gonna come, but we don't have it now. And I worry that a lot of people are gonna be at least as responsible as your average Geraldo and think, well, they probably have it. If I get sick, they'll probably just shoot me up with the vaccine or something. That's not how it works at all. You are just as much at risk right now. The more people that get the vaccine, theoretically a little bit better it'll become, but we're still months and months away from that having an actual substantive effect on your day-to-day life.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.